You are live. How is everyone doing? I wasn't sure if I was going to make it on here tonight, but I'm grateful that I am. I'm grateful that I'm on here. How's everyone doing? Give it a few more minutes for people to jump on. I know I just posted maybe 20, 30 minutes ago that I would be on for sure and what I would be talking about. So give it a few more minutes. People to get the notification. Once you get on here, tell me where you're from. Say hey. Oops. And once you get on here, share, and share. And if you are watching this in replay, please put replay in the box. Hey, Dwayne, how are you? I am well. Today was a bit of an intense day, but I am well. Tonight we're going to have a different conversation. We're still on the topic of inviting words into our wounds, but we're going to continue that part of the conversation, but we're going to go a different direction. So I hope you guys are ready. I've seen some crazy stuff on the internet lately. Like, people have lost their absolute minds. Like, it's just amazing. I posted some things on my personal page. Sorry, my page right now is very private. There has been some crazy requests from some weird, very weird people. Like, yeah, very weird. And I just had to make my personal page very private. So normally you would be able to see it, but I've had to make it private. So if you are not a friend, you won't be able to see it. And I don't really like people from here. You've seen some of my posts. Yeah, absolutely insane what people are doing. Standing in traffic on 285 in Atlanta. Like, what is really going on? I think the world has lost its everlasting mind, but we'll get into that another time. But tonight I'm going to, I'm just waiting for more people to get on here tonight. And let me introduce myself. I always forget that part. I'm like, y'all know me. That's my tribe. I'm Dr. Tori J. I am the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. I am an author, a speaker, and I'm a coach. And I come on here on every Tuesday night to do what I call Healing Tuesdays. Healing Tuesdays is simply an opportunity for us to connect the dots to your pain so that you can take it to your therapist and get the help that you need, get the tools that you need. And it's an opportunity to have a tribe who's experiencing or has experienced some of the things that you are going through. This is a very engaging platform. I do not want to be the expert and the only person talking. So I love it when you engage in the comments and I'm able to talk about your comments and go from there. Tonight, I want to continue the conversation of inviting words into our wounds. And then I'm asking the question, Daddy, where are you? Earlier today on our Facebook page, you will see a post where I'm asking, what was your relationship like, or what was it, or is it like with your father? And in asking that question, I'm wanting to kind of dig into what was the relationship like? What is it like? Do you have one? I had a conversation with a classmate today, and it's funny. We have a group project due, and it's just crazy how some people are on their thing and some people aren't. I got my stuff turned in. It's been hard, but I've gotten it turned in. And was having a conversation with a classmate over the phone. Hadn't called anyone else, but I called her. And during that conversation, we were talking about what I do and for a living. And she was like, oh my God, I have a great stepfather. My father was a little different. He's got mental health issues now. And all he says is he loved my mother and blah, blah, blah. But she was like, he didn't fight for me. He didn't fight for me. And I was talking to her about what that looked like. And okay, maybe he didn't, but don't dismiss the opportunity to have a relationship with him if he's not, a bad person, if he's a good guy and you're just frustrated. And she said, well, when I tried to reach out and have a relationship with him early on, my mother And my stepfather got really hurt and they were offended. And so, of course, you back away. I'm able to have an honest conversation and say, and this is on top of what I want to talk about tonight, but I want to be able to tell you that engaging with your father and reuniting with your father and reconnecting with your father is going to always create animosity, anger, frustration, offense, hurt feelings in the individuals who stayed, even if they're the ones who created the situation. We never know our father's side of the story until we actually spend time with them. And even then, they may not share it. Or even then, we don't want to hear it. And so we've started to post on the father. Let me talk about this really quickly. I've started to record, and I told you guys a while ago that we had 8,000 reunites that I was not aware of. I was aware of 3,000. I didn't realize those were the fathers. Gracie Staples, who did the AJC article on us, was like, do you know how many fathers you've reunited? And I was like, no, I just know the children. The person who started that count clearly was counting wrong. Not a surprise based on who they ended up being, but it is what it is. And so now we've learned all of these reunites, and I have recorded 4 new reunites, and we'll do 4 or 5 every month. It just depends on how the finances line up. But I've been able to do 4 this month or last month, and now we're revealing them. And I just got the one that I'm going to release next week. It just chimed about 30 minutes ago. And Daniela was a 39-year-old woman who did not know that the man she was being raised by was not her father. She had suspected, she'd seen things, she'd saw some adoption papers with her name on it, and they were like, no, that's not real. And so when she was 39 and her parents got a divorce, she learned that she was not his biological daughter. That is a lot to take in, even for anyone. But it was her mission to reunite with her father and find her biological father. And we were able to do that. It takes a lot sometimes. Her case was different. It was very simple. It was pretty easy. It was easier in a way than I thought it was going to be. But I can tell you that you need to go watch that testimony. I'm not looking for numbers. I'm looking for souls to be saved. I'm looking for fathers to have hope. I'm looking for fathers to realize she was 39. I was 31. And she welcomed that man with open arms. And now not only does she have a father, but there's a surprise ending. There's an addition that we weren't expecting. So you've got to go watch that testimony. And I believe it will encourage fathers who are alienated, who are waiting, who are hoping. And even for those who are the fatherless child and they don't know who their fathers are and they're trying to look and search. I'm not saying that I can find your father as fast as I found hers or that I can find him at all. It's case by case. But I need you to know that I work hard to try to find these dads. Sometimes it takes a week. Sometimes it takes 2. Sometimes it takes a year. It just depends on how much information you have. But Daddy, where are you is the topic tonight. And I want to bring you in on some things. This is what I want to say. Some of you were told horrible things about your father. And as you were told these horrible things about your father, when you started to act up or get in trouble in school or do bad things, then you were told, you act just like your father. You acting just like your father. Well, if I'm then told horrible things about my father and I'm acting just like my father, does that make me a horrible person? Words into your wounds. Words causing wounds. Some of you were told about your father did this and he did that and he wasn't this and all of these things that he wasn't. And then there comes a point where things are difficult or complicated, or maybe you're in trouble and then maybe it's a trouble thing again. Maybe you're acting a certain way. Maybe you made a facial expression and your mother or someone in the family says, you look just like your father. Words into wounds. I want you to give me some more of those moments that you've had where you were told something negative and then you were given something that related you to that negativity concerning your father. Go. I want to hear. I want to see you in the chat. What was negative about your father, but then you did something and it related you to the negativity? Put it in the chat for me. Put it in the comments for me. I told you I'm engaging. So those who are jumping on, those who are on, put it in the comment section for me. Those are 2 of the biggest ones. You look like your father and you acting just like him, right? Those are things that are said about us. I don't think that was ever said about me because everybody said, child, you look just like your mama. And I would always think, well, you ain't got nothing else to compare it to. So, okay. And I do look like my mother, but my mother and father look a lot alike. Just so you know. Whoops. I'm sitting here turning this up, but I meant to turn it down. Nothing? Y'all don't have nothing else? That's the only one. Those are the only two you guys can think of? Or I'm taking you some places and you're like, uh-oh, Dr. Tori she's about to trigger. She's scratching at something right now. Am I triggering you? Tell me what it is. I got to know. I got to have this dialogue. I want to know more. I want to know more of what you were told that created wounds on the inside of you, associated with your father, associated with your father's absence, your father's presence, your father's inability to show up sometimes. Anybody? Y'all not going to chime in tonight? Okay. All right. Well, let me give you a few more. I'll give you a few more that I got. I know y'all got some. Dwayne, you can't tell me you don't have any. You can't tell me you don't, because you're very talkative. So let me go here. I'm going to go here and then we'll come back to that. So moments like this, when you are dealing with a negative and then it's associated with you, it creates, okay. Thank you, Tony. Thank you. And Chris, I'm glad you're on here. Chris said his mom said he was a womanizer just like his father. Thank you, Tony, for engaging. Tony knew. Some of y'all who are on here, well, not enough of you are on here right now, but some of y'all, I know y'all know these things. Y'all just ain't engaging. Yeah, that's one. That's one. You're a womanizer just like your father. Wow. That's words into wounds. And then guess what happens? Okay, here comes Darren. My mom told me often that I won't amount to much. Okay, here we go. Yep, thank you. You notice there's some commonalities here. My mom said, sorry, my son's an alienated dad, so not much help also in Australia. No, you're okay. I understand. Caitlin, she's like, I'm not the mama who's going to say that. She said, my son is alienated dad, and so I'm not much help. So let me see. Do you know, Kayleen, maybe what the mother who's alienating your son is saying to the child? When you guys have picked up the child before that he got alienated, were there any signs of what she might be telling the child? We can go that route. What she might be telling that child in the midst of you guys. Because I can tell you, when children are alienated, I've seen text messages where the mother's saying, see, your dad didn't call. Your dad ain't even thinking about you. And you find out that she had literally blocked them on the phone. They blocked the dad on the phone and he's calling, but she's telling the child, your dad, he ain't even thinking about you. Words into wounds. Thank you, Tony, for getting the conversation going. And Tony and Chris. Words into wounds. And so what this creates is cognitive dissonance, right? Two competing thoughts. It's a perception contradictory to the information that you have. Hey, Mia. Oh, wait. That he has PPD disorder. I don't even know. Child's 8's only 2. I don't even know what that means. Personality disorder? Bipolar disorder. Is that what you're saying? She says he is violent and she's scared. See, I had to tap into it a different way for you, Kayleen, to get it. And I appreciate you coming in a bipolar. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, Australia. Look, Kayleen is up. We have Australia, we have Singapore, we have South Africa who tunes in. So I'm grateful. Hey, Mia. Cognitive dissonance is where we're going to go right now. And it's a perception contradictory to the information you have. Borderline personality disorder. There it is. Yeah. And everybody's a narcissist these days. We all psychologists naming off what people really are. Child, please. We all have narcissistic tendencies. I did a study on that and I did a whole thing on that. We all have those tendencies depending on how stressed we are, where we are, what we got going on. But yes, borderline personality disorder. And some people are borderline personality disorder. That's a real thing. And being fatherless, that performance thing that we've talked about, when you are a performer, that's borderline personality disorder. When you never step into reality, you never step into who you are, and you are constantly in performance mode, you got multiple personalities and you always. So trust me, cognitive dissonance is this place of it doesn't match the information you got. Doesn't make sense. If it don't make dollars, don't make sense, doesn't make sense. And so you're trying to make sense of it. And in trying to make sense of it, guess what? It doesn't ever make sense. It doesn't make sense because the information you've been provided or you've been told is contradictory. What you feel is contradictory. It's not real. It's like, it doesn't make sense. And let me read this. I wrote this down earlier while I was getting ready for this. It's a conflict between two ideas or a set of ideas and information and thoughts about your father, but also about you and your identity. That's why we can go into this personality or this borderline personality disorder, because that's what creates that. You've been given a whole bunch of information that doesn't seem to make sense. When you watch the video of Daniela telling her story, she will tell you, I just never really had that bond that I thought I was supposed to have with the man who raised me. And although he was awesome and amazing, I didn't have that bond. And so something didn't line up. And you will hear that from a lot of people who've been lied to. They were just like, something just doesn't line up. Someone I spoke to today, they're trying to determine when do they tell the 25-year-old son that the man who raised him isn't his father. And they're like, well, I think he's a little too young. 25? 25 is a little too young. Come on, somebody. We're living lies and we're being raised in lies and then expecting to be able to live in reality. Being expected to live in a place of reality, very difficult. Robert said, my son's mom appears to be grooming him to be a servant for women by constantly telling him that he needs to learn to make money and to have a family. He's 7. Oh, wow. And when he was 5, he told me he wanted to be like me, be a dad like me. Now he says he doesn't want any kids because spending time with your kids is bad. And all dads are supposed to do is work. Okay. This is what children are being raised in. And ladies, we've got to be honest. I'm not here to knock a single mother. You do what you do. That's not true. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I am here to knock you. I'm here to tear you down, and I'm here to get you in reality and get you stable and get you fixed, because single motherhood tends to trigger mental and emotional issues, mental health issues. A lot of single moms are bipolar. A lot of single moms, it's manic depressive back in the day. I was raised with a bipolar mom. I don't have the residue of that as much as I think I should. I have a lot of mental health stuff that goes on in my family. Do I have depression sometimes? Absolutely. Do I have anxiety? Absolutely. Those who are on my personal pages, you can see me working out on a regular basis, getting my butt kicked and killed by my trainer. You know why? Because that is the place where I find relief from my stress, my anxiety, and my depression. It makes me feel good about myself. Now, I'm going to complain the whole way. But when I leave and I'm looking at myself in the mirror, yes, child, I'm excited, and it relieves that stress that I tend to hold on to. And if you start to hold on to stress and anxiety and depression, that will lead you to some places in in your mind that is not good. You know, I am grateful because I can tell you why I'm not in that place. My mother put me in counseling early when I had some trauma happen to me. And counseling was always a part of my journey. When something would go bad, I was always given the tools on how to heal. And now I'm just blessed to give those same tools to people on how to heal. Sorry, there's something. I was walking the dog. This is South Florida situation, y'all. Y'all have no idea. You do not want no-see-ums to bite you down here. I have scars on my arms that I got to go to esthetician to get rid of. The mosquitoes down here are a whole nother thing, and they're also called no-see-ums. It's a thing. Cherie now, she used to live down here. It's a horrible situation. And I felt something on my foot. I'm like, oh, did I get that from walking? But I want us to realize, single moms, we've got to tell the truth. Even when we don't live in reality, we've got to go get the healing so that we can. Having conversations with women who are like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to journey through that. Okay, maybe not today, but we've got to take that leap. Right now in my Beyond Fatherless Women's group, we are talking about the first loves who broke our heart. And we're going all the way back to elementary and middle school, because that tends to set the precedence of how we navigate brokenheartedness and breakups and things of that nature. And those tend to, one of the true areas that we've paid attention to during this conversation is this was where trust was built. When you don't have a father, women don't know where to build trust. They saw a lot of, how many ladies can raise their hand and say they saw a lot of shadiness going on between women and their mother's relationships with her friends and whatnots. And so because of that, we don't trust very well. And then we get into relationships with men and we were never given the tools to trust. And so how do we trust? And asking that question in the group, they were like, we didn't trust. Where we get that from? All of them said that. I was like, oh, okay. So we're honest, and we honest in that group. If you want to join a Beyond Fatherless peer group, go to beyondfatherless.com and I'll do a free assessment and we'll have a conversation and I'll see what group you best fit in. And then Darren is in the men's fatherhood group, selfish plug. And that group, we really talk about navigating the storms with women. We talk about what that looks like when you're in a situation and you're being alienated and how to work through the alienation from a mental situation. But also we're going to talk about your relationship with your mother. Journaling about your relationship with your mother is something that's going on right now. And when you learn about the relationship that men have with their mothers, it explains exactly why they chose the women that they chose to be in relationship when they were unhealed. It proves it. So on to this point, the child is only 2 years old and she doesn't let us see him since August 19th. So we don't know what she says to him, but she calls my son a monster in family court because they had a mutually unhappy relationship. And my son wanted to co-parent separately in best interest of the child. So she took off 3,000 miles interstate. Wow. 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 That's what people are dealing with. And if I ask the question of what was the mom's upbringing in that situation, the mother of the child, we're going to have some conversations about her fatherless journey. 1,000%. Even if Kayleen comes back and says, oh, she has a relationship with her father, he's in the home or whatever. But then she'll say, well, he was distant, or there were issues between her mother and father in the home. When a woman does that, there's always a fatherless issue at the root of it. Always a fatherless issue at the root of it. Because how can you take a child, a son, that far away from his father and think nothing of it? You know why? Because I'm fine. I did fine. I'm okay. I'm doing okay. And even Darren, he put a heart up because Darren is, Dwayne said facts. I'm sorry. I was cutting Darren's off and Dwayne's popped up. But I'm telling you right now, this is how this thing works. This does not take a lot of, it takes an anointing to recognize it. I can spot fatherlessness within first 2 minutes, maybe talking to you. I won't even say 2 minutes. I can spot it. I feel it. It starts to vibrate in me. See, here we go. She told me her dad was violent and her mom always told her he was a drunk. That's what she meant. Mm-hmm. See? And it's not a shocker that we can go back right here. Wait, that's not the one. Where is she? Let me see. Oh, that is the one. Calls my son a monster in family court. There it is. There it is. You just repeat and replicate the same thing over and over and over again. Marriage is for healing. I will say it over and over again. And sometimes people are triggered by the marriage and they don't recognize that the marriage is triggering, or the relationship is triggering, the very thing that they need healing. Very thing they need to be healed. But because you're being triggered and you don't recognize that, you think it's the person stirring it up and brewing it up and creating whatever and doing whatever in your life. But no, it's God putting that person in your life to do what needs to be done. And that's healing. And unfortunately, Inviting words into our wounds and asking, Daddy, where are you? Is going to create some animosity from your mother when you start looking for daddy, or when you start asking questions about daddy, when you start going, okay, maybe my daddy wasn't a monster. And then when you start taking children far away from their fathers, repeating the cycle, people are going to start asking questions about your father. And then they're going to start asking questions about your mother. And I'm going to tell you right now, we live in a world where it's like, got to honor thy mother and thy father so that your life will be long. That's scripture. Some folks who don't even go to church know that. Oh no, you never separate from your family. Lies. Did y'all see that post by Ricky Smiley? Your family will be the ones to tear you down. There's even a scripture that says that destruction will come from within your own household, within your own family, within your own family line. Unfortunately, if we continue to have this conversation, we can see that it comes from mothers. I'm here to help you. And if you don't like the conversation that I'm pointing, like my mama used to say too, and we've heard this a lot too, hit dog will holla. You've got to admit your wrongs in order to find the healing that you need. You've got to acknowledge the fact that you're broken in order to get the healing that you need. Let's see what you said here, Robert. My ex was jaded when we were together. First from her mother who tried living her life through her, and then from a guy she was with for 10 years and finally told her he would never marry her. Ever since he was around to hang out, even when we were together. Oh, he was around to hang out. My son's mom is broken and she needs therapy. And unfortunately, my son is being raised watching it all. Yeah. Darren said, school of hard knocks for real. I see you, Mia. Mia's like, that's some thought. But she was only 4 when they separated. So her mom kept the narrative. Yes. And so she stopped seeing him. There it is, Kayleen. These are the answers to the questions that you need as to why your son is alienated in part of the prayer. And I did see where you put in there that prayer helped you restore some of your faith. And I'm grateful. You were truly a blessing to my life that day when you came back and said that restored your faith. I am grateful that I got to see that. And I've been able to play a part in that role in your life, because that's the important part. But this is a place where we have to learn how to pray. We have to learn how to speak positive things into negative situations, call those things that be not as though they were. And that's what we got. That's where we have to go. We cannot dwell in the negative. Robert says, the courts gave me my first experience of a panic attack, and I've since had trouble with even the idea of that. Yeah. Or being in a relationship. Or being in a relationship so my son won't get to see a healthy relationship from me either. Oh, yeah. You've got to overcome that, Robert. And you're going to need therapy. I know we try to do these things alone, but we can't do these things alone. You've got to have therapy to navigate this. I know the MAGTOW group, men totally against marriage. They ain't ever doing it again. I know men in the Father's Rights movement and some of these other movements, all they do is date strippers or women who they know they're not going to commit to, period. And they simply do it because they're afraid of connection and relationship and being hurt again, because they have not gone through the healing process. And I call many of you are bitter Bettys as men as well. And we can't let trauma then dictate who we are and how we live out our lives. We cannot. And I know that's a tough one because it requires you to acknowledge and take ownership of some things that you didn't orchestrate. I get it. I do. But I would look back at some of the choices that we make as individuals in these relationships and question, how did you get this person? Was it for the healing component, meaning you had the healing that they needed? Or were you looking for healing in a relationship with your mother or your father that then caused you to open the door to this person who had no business being in your life? I see you, Dr. Daisy. She says, speak the anointed Dr. Tori, quote unquote truth. I was telling somebody the other day, people have an issue when you're talking about speakers, and there are different ones, encouragers, motivational. I am the truth teller. And people don't like that. You must check your DNA in the environment you grew up in. Absolutely. And we all have some environmental issues. We don't want to admit it because, once again, It's going to scratch at the issues with our mothers. It's going to scratch at the issues with our fathers. It's going to show us that our parents aren't perfect. And some people have an issue acknowledging your mama is not the Virgin Mary. She is not Mother Teresa. Some of you have an issue with that. And Kayleen, I saw the hands of prayer. That was because of what I talked about. I appreciate that. The fear of commitment is real. I never felt that way before. That's why I'm telling you, Robert, you've got to do the therapy. You've got to find a therapist who can speak to this part of you, because we were called to be together. We're not called to be alone. We're not called to walk out this life alone. And just getting some sexual relief may more than likely end you up in the same situation you're in now. Sex creates babies, okay? And then you're going to somebody who's dysfunctional, just like the situation that you came from, to find sexual relief, because can't go forever without sex. You just can't. So you're going to find someone, and then you could very well be creating another child. That's how that works. And so you've got to get the therapy, Robert. I know it's tough. I know where men come from. They come from the place, well, I didn't do this. It's not fair. We talked about that last week. Got to get the help. Glory, Dr. Tori, you must be careful of the seeds you plant, because that's what's going to grow. It is. Watch out for the weeds. I love your teachings and encouraging words. Well, thank you, Dr. Daisy. I appreciate that. And then we have, if you can't handle the heat, get out the kitchen. Yeah, I'm the truth teller, and I'm okay with that. I didn't used to be okay with that. But as I start watching my videos and I listen to myself sing and I do all these other things, I recognize my voice, and I recognize when my voice hits a certain way. And it's when I'm telling the truth in a way, because I'm going to tell the truth to myself. I'm going to tell the truth to my husband. I'm going to tell the truth to my mama. I'm going to tell the truth to people. We may not like it, and I'm going to deliver it in love. The Bible says, speak the truth, but speak it in love. I'm going to share it in love. This is not from a place of maliciousness or bitterness towards single moms. It's not. It's from a place of love. Like, you've got to get it together, because these generations are falling apart. These children are falling apart at your directives. They're falling apart at you, the fact that you are raising them in brokenness, and they have now become your collateral damage because you refuse to heal. I need for parents to overcome the challenges and the issues of healing that they need, the trauma that they've had, so that the next generation doesn't have to. But if we keep passing it on to generation, you know what happens between time? It gets more intense and it gets worse. Dwayne said, I love your truth telling. Well, I appreciate it, Dwayne. It's not always easy to tell the truth. It gets a lot of backlash. It gets a lot of backlash. Recognize, though, that we got to tell the truth, and we got to tell the truth in love. We got to tell people how we experience them, but we got to tell them that in love. We have to. I know we might be mad, and it don't always come that way. No one's perfect. No one's perfect. But you got to do it in love. You got to find a way to do it in love. That's why you try to look for the right opportunity. You try to set up times, hey, I need to talk to you, whatever that is. Setting boundaries is telling the truth in love. That's what it is. So when I'm looking at this place of cognitive dissonance, I want you to recognize, start picking apart the information that you have. When we're looking at inviting words into the wounds and daddy, where are you? And comparing it to the cognitive dissonance that you have. Child is being told this. How do you navigate that? You've been told things about your dad. Tony and Chris were talking about, oh, you're a womanizer just like your father. Probably had some womanizing ways potentially, but it was coming from the fact that you've been told that, and you've been told your father was a womanizer. Let me tell you a story about a situation that I might have told it years ago on here, but I want to tell this story really quickly. I was being called to help a young lady who was a single mom, and she had a 15-year-old son who was getting into a lot of trouble. And he was getting into a lot of trouble because he was looking for his father. And not only looking for his father, but he was trying to go where his father was. And they didn't get this. And the more I talked to these people, I was like, something is up. He's doing this on purpose. And they were like, why would he do this on purpose? But it did seem like that to them, but they couldn't understand why. He went from, getting suspended from school for fighting. He went from doing this and doing that. And then he got caught with a gun at school. He got caught with a gun at school. And they were trying to figure out what is going on with this kid. He's 15. He's going down the wrong track. I immediately, like it was halfway through the conversation, I won't say immediately, halfway through the conversation, I said, where's his father? And the mother said, his father's in prison. Ding, 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 ding. Daddy, where are you? I'm in prison. Let me go find a way to get into prison with my dad. That's what the kid was doing. He was hoping that he'd get into enough trouble, you guys, that he'd end up in the same prison with his father, and he would be able to then spend time with his father. This is the stuff that happens. This is the stuff that causes us to have, I don't know what my dog is doing back in here. This is the place where we have information that doesn't line up. The child knows his father's in prison, but he's looking for ways that it doesn't make sense. You're not even going in the same area. You're not going to end up in the same prison with your father. But this is what he was doing. The sins of the fathers. I was watching something briefly the other night. Sometimes I get to turn on the TV these days, sometimes. And this man was saying, it was a movie. And this man, I think it was a movie with Kevin Hart, The Upside. And he was telling a story about how he ended up in prison with his father. And his father said, welcome home. This was a movie. His father said, welcome home. And he was like, what kind of father says that to a child? These are the things that are happening to people. Dwayne said, tough to swallow sometimes, but necessary. The truth. Yeah, I appreciate your truth. It's refreshing and just feels good, especially after experiencing all the harm from the lies. Oh, thank you, Robert, for that one. That's the saddest story I've ever heard. And it makes so much sense. It does. It does. Problem is, most alienators are supported by society, yep, as they believe their version. Yeah, they're the victim. So often they would not be open to real truth, yep, as they believe their own lies or half-truths, yes, and feel backed up by others, including mediators, therapists, family law court, who make money off of this narrative. You are telling the truth, Kayleen. You are telling the whole truth on that one. Let me put that back up there so people can see it. The victim, this is why, look, recently talking to a friend, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Recently talking to a friend, and they were talking about a situation that's happening in their family. And it's not really their family, it's an extension of the family. And very much so lines up with this. Very much so lines up with this. There's a problem. But herein lies the issue with even that. Victims who lie and make lies and half-truths and then are supported, when the true victims are having issues, they can't get the resources they need because women like that, and they've been discovered, and now more people are paying attention to the lies that have been told, and they're like, no, that's not real. And so women who are really victims of domestic violence, who are really victims of situations, aren't getting the support they need because their sisters have lied and created false narratives. And now the courts are reluctant, the cops are reluctant to show up and arrest anybody. And if they do, they arrest everybody. And then you're in a whole nother situation that you didn't intend to be in. And so now we've got these things going on because of these fake narratives, these false narratives that have been told over the years. Dr. Daisy said, wow, we need to recognize generational curses. Absolutely. And these curses are impacting children, where when we invite words into our wombs, we want to invite positive words. We want to invite God's words. We want to invite the true words that are edifying, that are encouraging, that are comfort, right? That are comforting, but we don't get that. And so when we're looking for daddy, daddy, where are you? Where have you been? Why haven't you been around? What's going on? We don't get the real answers because we're still dealing with the negativity and the false narrative that's been told by our mothers to us. Or let's say it wasn't a false narrative, but now because he was absent and you didn't have a narrative, you just made some assumptions about your dad. You made some assumptions about yourself. Like the lady earlier, oh, he didn't fight for me. She doesn't really know that. It's what she believes. It's the core belief. Because she told me, she said, no one ever said that. He just said he loved my mother. That's what he said. He just told her, she said he's got dementia or Alzheimer's right now. And so all he says when he sees her is, I love your mother. I loved your mother. And she said, I don't even think he knows she's died. That's what she said. We don't know. So then we make it up. And guess what happens when a child makes up something? Child is make believe. It is fiction and it is a whole lie. And then you go from childhood believing this fiction and just allowing this fiction to just motivate you and move you through life and relationships. And you don't even know you're believing a lie because nobody ever told you the truth. Dwayne said, I fear the hard times and troubles my son may have because I'm not able to be in his life. Well, we're going to keep praying, Dwayne, that you are able to be in his life. Darren said, facts. Dr. Daisy said, yes, yes, Kayleen. Kayleen came with it. Yes, the true victims are doubted. Absolutely. And sometimes those victims are the men and courts are overloaded. Tell it. And Mia said, truth. Yep, you have witnessed the truth. Absolutely. I continue to rebuke the fear. Fear is a liar. Yeah. False evidence appearing real. Absolutely. The Bible says, fear not 365 times. That means you get to fear not every single day of the year. I put my trust in the Lord and know that I will be reunited with my son one day. I will always choose love over anything else and keep praying. Dwayne, you are the motivational speaker for tonight. I'm going to tell you that right now. Daniela's story is to give people encouragement. I know some people only think that I reunite fathers through court systems and things of that nature, but Daniela is one of the ways I reunite fathers. And we've done 4 this month, but 2 are women who were reunited with their fathers and they're telling their journey about how that happened. And then the other 2 are fathers who've gone through the courts and we got them attorneys to walk them through that process. But I can tell you, reunification is hard, no matter what that looks like, no matter what the situation may be. It is difficult. It is complicated. It is convoluted. And when I tell you, it's emotional, it's stressful. It puts me in a position sometimes where I'm called a liar and a thief and a crook and a con and a scam artist and this and that. She didn't get me no attorney. I did. Unfortunately, sometimes attorneys do flake on me and I don't know why. And they've gotten some money and they flake and I don't. So then I got to take responsibility. I know I never ever use that attorney again. Trust that fact. There's one attorney, I'm gonna tell you, I tried to use her twice and she is well known within the father's rights community. And she talks about, no, because if I say it, y'all gonna know it. And no, it's not Melissa Isaac, so don't go there. But it's an attorney that people tout all the time. And that woman has flaked on me twice and cost me dearly. Okay. You got to be careful. Call me if you're in North Carolina and I'll make sure you don't do yourself that injustice. Yeah, that might have told some people. But she's flaked on me twice and created scenarios for me that are not good. I continue to rebuke no, you said that already. I'm sorry, I'm going here. This is the one I wanted to go to. Friday will be 600 days alienated. Wow. And dads count. See, that's what children don't know. When we're on here, you guys, and we grew up without our fathers, we don't realize that the good dads who are fighting, who are waiting, they know how long they've been alienated. They count every single day, every single hour that they're missing you. They count. They know how long it's been. That's what you got to know. When you don't know what's going on, when you're not being told anything, let me tell you. There's some amazing fathers on the other side of it. Daniela can tell you the story where, the testimony that came out this week. She'll tell you the story where you can, the other siblings were like, Dad always said he had other children. The other girl that you're going to hear, she has 9 siblings or 8 siblings. And her father would always tell them, I have 9 children and 1 is missing. And that story, her thing is so doggone long. I don't know how we're going to post it in once. That girl talked, and she animated as all get out. She is an eclectic being, but she says some powerful things to single moms that I'm just like, and I'm going to chop them all up so you can get them, you can get bite sizes over the week. But when I tell you, there are dads who are fighting. And maybe they've given up to some degree, but they've always continued the narrative with their other children. I have a child or I have other children out there, and I am going to be like reunited with that child at some point. And unfortunately, dads miss out on so much from us. They miss out on so many opportunities, graduations, I don't care if that's from kindergarten, middle school, high school, college. I have an attorney that I worked with, and she told this at our Super Bowl event last year. She talked about how she was like, her dad didn't even show up for her college graduation, and she couldn't understand. And one day her father saw her mother. Her mother just up and moved one day. And one day her mother and her father saw her mother on the train and was like, "Where is my daughter?" She was 26 years old and reunited with her father. 26 years old. And they were two peas in a pod. And he died, I want to say, maybe 4 months ago from COVID. And it's devastated her. She's one of the most prominent, powerful attorneys in Atlanta. And yes, she's still working, but it's been challenging for her. And I've sent gifts. I sent the office like this huge box of chocolates. Like, I found out some of the attorneys was like, "Child, I grab it every time I walk out the door." We still got a whole bunch. She works out all the time, but I was like, sometimes you just need a little chocolate. And if you don't like dark chocolate, I put strawberry chocolate, I put white chocolate. It was all types of chocolate in there. It was some expensive chocolate. It was some cheap chocolate. It was all of that in there because she's helped so many of my fathers in the best kind of way. All I could do was say, you know what? I want to be a blessing to her. I ain't got a lot of money, but we can show people that we care. Sidebar. Inviting words into our wounds. Daddy, where are you? Is the question. Dwayne's son is going to be asking, Daddy, where are you? Where have you been? Did you fight for me? And like I told you guys last week, you want to be able to like present to people who you are. Dad's got paperwork. They got, this is just these little, but I can show you, like if you go to my personal page back in the day, you could see some of these stacks of papers that I have of court cases of dads fighting. And Dwayne and a lot of these dads have the same amount of paperwork that they'll be able to show their children and say, I did fight for you. But will it matter at that point? Will they need that information? I can't tell you that my father fought for me. My mother and him had a conversation, and that's about all I know. And the conversation was like, nope, you're not the father. And he left it that way. But he also always told my siblings that he believed I was his daughter. So I have that testimony as well. Dr. Daisy says, females sometimes are angry and vindictive, using children as a weapon because they want to hurt someone, really not caring about the pain and the hurt the child has to live through and deal with as they grow through life. It is so sad. Absolutely. And not only use them as a weapon towards their father, but also use them as a weapon towards themselves. How about that? Kayleen says, Robert, yep, in Australia, but my biggest lesson in these last years is it's worldwide. Yeah. Many people don't know that this is a pandemic of global proportions. I now understand our First Nations stolen generation. Ooh, now it's the worst epidemic, using our children and mentally unwell and broken parents as cash cows. Yep. So they can get richer and richer. Yeah, that's true. Darren said, so damn true. Darren, I'm surprised you ain't come up with a movie, something. Darren, when he'd get on here, he'd have a movie thing. And then when we'd be on our coaching calls, Darren is a movie watcher. So he's got all these movie analogies that he puts forth. So I'm surprised I think he's a little speechless tonight, and I get it. Daddy, where are you? Kids are asking that question. Daddy, where are you? Where have you been? Why aren't you here with me? That's part of their prayer every night. I need my daddy. Kids are very aware. He said, I do. Yeah. Kids are very aware of the lack of protection they have. They can feel it. Have you ever been around a baby and they're like smiling and laughing at something that you can't see? They're connected spiritually. Kids are connected and they know they're not protected. Mama, you protect different than a daddy does. And when you put yourself in this position where you're like, I'm mama and father, that does not make you that child's daddy. And so the child is still going to say, Daddy, where are you? The child is still going to have questions about themselves and the misinformation they're getting and how that runs through their mind and also their spirit, and it doesn't line up. And it creates conflict and a war internally called cognitive dissonance. They may not be able to figure it out, but they feel the war on the inside. Words create wars. Do you hear me? Words create wars. And when you have misinformation, that's what it's creating. Children can feel it. They know something's off. Even if you don't tell them, even if you pretend everything's okay, they know. What so many people don't realize is that we dads don't always make it until our children are adults. That's very true. Sometimes God grabs us early and we leave unfinished business behind that our children, I would like to think, need to live healthy lives. Yeah, there's a high suicide rate. There's a high PTSD, depression, bipolar. These dads are being taken down, you guys, and I get to see it. They're being taken down. Too many story lines where children are kept from their fathers. I think you meant, or not knowing the truth. Bad boys for life. Oh, see, there you go. That's the analogy. Yes. Yes, that's bad boys for life. And that was the third, that was the last one. And that little boy went killing everybody. That grown man, the little boy, but he went killing everybody. And when he found out his mother had lied to him, he killed up a whole bunch of people. Bad boys for life. Yeah, that's very true. Very, very true. I want you guys to know that how we get to the place where we ask the questions of Daddy, where are you? Is we then start to pull apart the information we've been given about our fathers and how that relates to ourselves. And we begin to, because it's entangled right now and it's creating this war. You gotta just get a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. It's like pros and cons. What have you been told about your father? And what about that really do you believe? What about that? Have you heard stories? Because them aunties and them be whispering. And they done told you some things that you really couldn't connect to because you're like, my mother would not lie to me. Yes, she will, boo. Your mama might not, but the woman that she's trying to hide that she was in her 20s and 30s when you was conceived, that woman would lie to you. Because she's got the Virgin Mary to protect. Doesn't make your mama a bad person. It makes your mother a human who is trying to hide her indiscretions. How many of you know some of the stuff you're repeating that's bad is not just your daddy, it's some of it's your mama too. Maybe you were a womanizer, maybe you were this and that, but maybe your mama was did I say that? No, I didn't say it, but I definitely implied it. Your mama got 4 baby daddies. You and your siblings are not all whole sisters and brothers. You ain't never asked no question. You ain't never lined nothing up. Okay. We have to be honest and start asking true questions as adults. I want to read something that someone posted online that I thought was super powerful. And I definitely, no phone, I'm not going to use the flash. And this is what you guys don't understand is really dictating your life in ways that you can't even imagine because you've been told something crazy. It says some of you all grew up watching your parents fight against each other instead of working as a team. Consciously and unconsciously, it affects you in more ways than you realize. It also plays a part in how you deal with relationships. Your parents might not have fought in the home. They fought over dad doesn't pay child support. Dad don't do this. Dad don't do that. And now you're in a position where you let your child pimp you, use you, abuse you, and whatever else they want to do to you because you don't want to be called a deadbeat, because you're afraid of that situation in that relationship. I had a call like that today. I'm like, you letting this child? I had a mother, I'm telling you, I was at a birthday party. And this mother was talking about how her son is with his father in Detroit. And in 2 weeks, she had sent this baby $600. Why are you sending this baby all this money? She said, well, because his dad isn't paying for this and buying that, and he's got to pay for his own food. I said, is he going to kill him or starve him? She said, neither. I said, then why are you sending the money? I said, child, you being taken advantage of. She said, well, his mother doesn't like my son. And I'm sure and see, there it was. She said, his father buys himself $180 pairs of shoes and he don't buy my son any. And so guess what I do? I buy my son $180 pair of shoes. And I was like, getting pimped, girlfriend, getting taken advantage of. Because, okay, they were out at dinner and your baby daddy said he wasn't going to pay for your son's food. Somebody going to be washing dishes and it ain't going to be the kid. They're not going to leave there without paying for that bill. $600 in 2 weeks. I said, girlfriend, that's supposed to be your money. Just like you say he doesn't pay for anything when the baby's with you. That's supposed to be your hair, your nails, your whatever money. And you're sending it to the child getting pimped. Children learn real quick how to manipulate you. And they will use you. Oh, mama, he's not doing this. He's not doing that. Or on the flip side, the dad doesn't want to be a deadbeat. So he overcompensates. Both parents are overcompensating, creating spoiled, narcissistic children who learn how to manipulate at a young age. Play put it in the bag, play whatever it is they want to play. Dr. Daisy said, yes, yes. Darren says, damn, you feel that. Okay, I don't know where that's coming from. That's Erica Badu hashtag. Okay. Oh, I think I know the beginning of that song. That's when children sometimes practice manipulation and sometimes getting, back at the mother. Absolutely. Yeah. And it swings on the mother, on the father, on the mother. They learn how to manipulate because they know manipulation gets them exactly what they want. They learn it very early, especially when two parents are at odds. When the child knows that I got to go to daddy's house and I got to go to mama's house. And I'm going to come over here to daddy's house. And yep, daddy's mama does treat me bad. Yep, it's not what I'm used to at home. And mothers, you have to be used to the fact that your children aren't going to be in the same environment when they're at their father's house. They're not supposed to be. It's supposed to be different. Dads aren't you. They're not you. Yep. Dwayne said 2 Christmases. Okay. I don't know what that means. They watch the mother manipulate. Man. They watch the mother manipulate the father and the entire situation. And then guess what? They then become the new manipulator as they get older. That's what ends up happening. Boys and girls. And then they get into relationships and manipulate the relationships. They're romantic. They're manipulating by being, the pretender, the performance, whatever that is. That's what they do. Because manipulation is how I get love. It's not a bad thing. It's not like, I won't say it's not like they're doing it on purpose because they are, but it's how they've been shown how you access love. My son tries playing the game of manipulation. He got me with one thing in the car. I wouldn't let him use the phone. He started at the trees. He stared at the trees and vomited. Oh, wow. The smell, smelled 2 weeks to get out of my car, get out. And now he gets to play on the phone in the car. I get that, Robert. Robert's like, I got played. Yes, indeed. And then she's like, yep, that's her. Mm-hmm. Master manipulators got to be prayed about. Those are spirits. Those are psychological behaviors that they learned at an early age. And Kayleen, she learned it at an early age because her mother fed her a narrative. And then her mother more than likely overcompensated as she fed her a narrative that was probably a lie. And now her daughter is who your son now has a baby with. And now you guys are reaping the consequences of that situation. It's unfortunate. But as we invite words into our wounds, positive words, deciphering, drawing a line on a piece of paper and looking at the information you've been given, adults, you've been given about your father on one side, and then how that's impacted your identity on the other side. Begin to unravel that. And as you crisscross across that line back and forth, you will begin to see reality and the truth will begin to reveal itself. That's another way to unravel the lies. That's another way. When you're dealing with an alienating parent, that's a tough one because courts are supporting them. And it goes back into prayer. It goes back into you needing the therapy so that you can become the best person that you can become. In spite of these situations and circumstances, and continuing to grow so that when they come around, you're not the bitter person that you once were from this situation. Hey, Charles, I see you down there. Just being understood helps here. I love it. Thank you, Kayleen. The mother at times had used getting pregnant to manipulate as well. Ooh, Dr. Daisy, you trying to tread on some situations. So they were sometimes conceived in that spirit. Let me get off of here. You've got me going. Now that, whoo. Yep. Yep. Ashley said, dang, I'm late. Where was my FB notification? I don't know. But you can go back in the replay, Ashley. It's good to see you on here, though. She said, where was my FB notification? I did put it on here. It definitely should have come on. I don't know why it didn't, but I'm glad that you came on. Even Charles said he came in late. Charles is enjoying that Miami life or something. I don't know. Maybe you're still in Atlanta. I don't know. But yeah, you guys, that's my time. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I pray that this helped you and I gave you a great tool that you can use to unravel the cognitive dissonance that you're dealing with, the war of words on the inside of you. And we go from there. Oh, she said, oh man, they are censoring you. Dang, Facebook. They might be. I don't know. I have no idea. They very well could be. But tonight we want to unravel the lies that we've been told about our fathers. He's in Miami sitting by the pool. Everybody's leaving Atlanta, child. After watching the people walk down the street on the highway, I got to go back for some work, but I am not moving fully back anytime soon. Atlanta got to go through some stuff, and it is clearly going through. Got folks walking on the highway on 285 with traffic coming at them. Whew, child. One dude walking without a shirt. He looked like he jumped out of a car. On the cell phone, walking in the direction traffic is coming. I don't get it, but it is what it is. Let Atlanta go through what it needs to go through, Charles. Dwayne said, thank you. Thank you, Tori. You're such a blessing. I love you. You're welcome, Dwayne. I appreciate it. Robert says, when I was in court, mom pulled the I'm afraid of him thing. 3 days later, she asked me out to dinner. We were to meet at the police department for a pickup and drop-offs. Going back to court, she wanted to keep the restraining order, but do away with the police station meets. Talk about a load of... Thankfully, it was so dumb that the judge wouldn't entertain it anymore. That, exactly. Cognitive dissonance. Doesn't match up. It doesn't make sense. Dr. Daisy said, and no shoes. Right. They on the highway. None of them got shoes on the highway. Same with my son. So Robert and Kayleen have some commonalities there. Work through this activity. Work through this process. And some of you should be journaling. I'm going to give you some of the homework I've given my coaching classes or my coaching groups. Some of you should be journaling about your relationship with your mother and how that's impacted you, male and female. And some of you should be journaling about how did you learn trust and what were the first relationships you had that broke your heart and how did that then formulate trust and what you believe relationships were supposed to look like. Some of those you can utilize. You can choose one or you can choose them all over a period of time. But it's some of the work that you need to do in order to just deal with and work out some of this pain and trauma that you're dealing with. As I'm always going to tell you, I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist. You've got to get a therapist. You cannot do this. Yes, you get homework. Darren said, yes, we get homework. You pay to get homework. Yes, you do. And my prices have been cut in half because of COVID. So I would jump in now if I were you, because COVID is almost over and then prices going to go back up. Yeah, for real. I got some bills to pay. But I'm going to get off of here. I am Dr. Tori J. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. I'm a coach. That's what I am. I'm not your therapist. I'm an author and I'm a speaker. And I got some other stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes. I'm not talking about it on social media anymore because people come for my stuff and pray and it'd be a whole fiasco. So I got some things that I'm working on that you'll see. Get ready for July. July is Fatherless Awareness Month. We've got this stuff that we're rolling out. And and we're just gonna unveil a podcast that I got to shoot in Atlanta here in the next couple of weeks. We got some other things that we're gonna keep doing, but just stay close, stay aware. We're gonna do some legal clinics in 3 different cities. We're gonna do Atlanta, we're gonna do St. Louis, and we're gonna do Dallas, Texas. I believe are the 3 that we've chosen. Those are the 3 we're gonna do some legal clinics in, allowing dads to get some free help to navigate their cases, go from there. But we got a lot of stuff that we've got planned for you. Zip the lip. Yeah. Exactly. Good night, Dwayne. He said good night, coach. All right. You guys have a great night. And I will see you guys on Thursday for Help is on the Way. All right. Talk